Project sharing is a way for multiple people to work within the same Vectorworks file. In this video, I'm going to go over some best practices for using working files with project sharing. For more info on initial setup or other project sharing basics, visit the Vectorworks help or Vectorworks University. When designing in a working file, there are some important protocols to follow. Even though the working file is technically a proxy of the project file, you should treat your working file as the main file. You should only have one working file at a time. It's possible to have multiple working files from the same project file, but this can cause problems because you could potentially check out objects in different files and lose track of what is accessible where. You cannot change the name of a working file, so using multiple would be especially difficult to keep track of. If you change the name of a working file, it will silently lose its connection to the project file. To prevent multiple working files, you should always start working by opening the existing working file. Do not double-click the project file if you already have a working file. You should also save your working file on your local machine. It is your personal file and should not be shared with anyone else, so there is no need to save it on a server or a shared location. The working file is also unique to your machine, so if you open it on another machine, you will corrupt your working file and/or the project file. Thus, saving it to your own cloud account has no real benefits. It's also helpful to establish protocols for how often team members should commit their work to the project file. You can save your file without committing, and you can commit work without releasing your checked out objects. So a good rule of thumb is to commit at the completion of a task or when it feels like a good stopping point. You should also release objects when you no longer need them to reduce conflicts. At the end of the day, you should always save, commit, and release your work. You don't want to lock up a file when you step away from your computer for any period of time. The exception is if you want to work offline. Then you should check out all the objects that you think you may need and use the same computer that the working file was created on. If you wish to use multiple machines, for example, you use a desktop machine in the office and a laptop when you travel or work from home, you must have a separate working file for each machine, and those machines must have different usernames. If you try to commit changes from a working file created on a different machine, there are two things that could potentially happen. Either it does not work and your working file will become disconnected from the project file, or it does work, but the project file will be reset and all other existing working files will become disconnected from the project file. Both outcomes result in big problems. This is why you should simply save your working file to your local machine, and none of these problems should arise. As you work, you should save your working file frequently. Backups of working files are saved in the standard Vectorworks file format, so you cannot restore from backup. If you need to transfer work from a backup file, you must manually copy and paste, so it's best not to rely on them. You can adjust your backup settings in the Vectorworks preferences to make this limitation easier. You can have it notify you of a backup and use that as a reminder to save, or you can simply auto-save your file. You can save a working file as often as you wish without having to commit your changes to the project file. So saving and committing do not have to happen on the same schedule. It's important to remember that if a project file needs to be recreated for any reason, it must be done either with a backup of the project file or by saving a copy of someone's working file and converting that copy to a new project file. In that circumstance, the working file is often more up to date than that project file backup. So the state of your working file is just as important. For more information on project sharing, visit the Vectorworks help or Vectorworks University.